High drama on Capitol Hill as the clock ticks down on a budget deal to keep our government open for business. Welcome to Happening Now. I'm John Scott.
Yeah, at least open for now. And I'm Heather Nauert, in for Jenna Lee today. House Speaker John Boehner presenting a proposal to lawmakers in a closed-door meeting, calling for funding most of the government through September of 2015, but only funding the Department of Homeland Security through early next year. Now, that will give the new Congress an opportunity to debate President Obama's executive action on immigration. Republicans will then control both the House and the Senate.
Let's bring in David Hawkins, senior editor for Roll Call, and Charlie Hurt, columnist for the Washington Times. So let's be clear, David, that they're talking about funding every agency of government. They're just talking about giving the Homeland Security Department a short-term funding plan. Do I have that right?
That's the goal. That's a very ambitious goal, and I think we should understand here that getting a complete budget for every other department but the Homeland Security Department is a pretty tall order. So, yes, but that's the goal, is to minimize the political showdown by only holding the Department of Homeland Security hostage, in a sense, not shutting them down, but telling them that they can't spend any money on anything new, i.e. the immigration executive order, until early in the new year when the Republicans take total control, and then they can make what they hope is a more aggressive move after they've taken charge.
Well, speaking of aggressive, Charlie, I mean, there are conservatives, the real conservative, or the most conservative members, I guess I should say, of the Republican Party, who are saying, you know, don't give this president anything. Let's really battle this out right now.
Well, it is a very fine line that Mitch McConnell and John Boehner walk right now. You know, they just picked up a lot of seats in the House and the Senate. They have a historic number of seats in the House right now. Or will when they come back in January. And, you know, that's a good problem to have. It means you have a big tent, though, and it means that you have a lot of a full range of you know, tempers throughout the caucus. And John Boehner is going to have to contend with that. Meanwhile, Nancy Pelosi and Harry Reid have winnowed ranks, and they have very unified ranks because they're so small. And but I can guarantee you they would give anything to have McConnell's problems and Boehner's problems. But what I think we're going to see is John Boehner put forward options like this. That will try to hew closely to the principles that got the Republicans into power, while also confronting President Obama as strongly as they can on something like the immigration deal, where it's very clear that it's a bipartisan. Even President Obama himself has said in the past that doing this is a constitutional overreach. So John Boehner feels like conservatives have a pretty good ground to stand on to combat that.
Well, David, talking about bipartisan approaches here, apparently Harry Reid on the Democratic side in the Senate has expressed some openness to this idea of funding all of the agencies of government long-term except for Homeland Security. If Harry Reid is on board, are Republicans naturally going to become suspicious?
I think that's exactly right, and I think Harry Reid doesn't do anything by accident. You don't get to be a floor leader in the United States Senate by acting simply. So he's got ulterior motives here. I think it's reasonable to believe that he's trying to, in some ways, set a trap for the Republicans. He's saying, I'm all for this, or I'm not all for this, but I'll accept this. Now it's up to you, Republicans, to make it happen. Just in a few minutes, I can let you know that Ted Cruz is going to take to the microphones, I think at noon, and declare that he wants another sort of holy war like the government shutdown war of 2 years ago over immigration, that he wants to steal the spine of those 30 to 40 really confrontational Republicans in the House to say this is not a good deal and that they should insist on something more aggressive, more confrontational, and if they don't get it, they should be willing to shut the government down. This is very similar to what he did in the fall of 2013, and the Republicans leadership has lived to rue the day. So this is going to be a tough day for John Boehner and Mitch McConnell.
Yeah, Charlie, is there the appetite for another government shutdown given what happened after October a year ago?
Well, given the fact that Republicans have never been very good at winning that argument, I think it's probably playing with fire. But I think that there's a lot that they can do short of that. But going back to something David just said, I agree with him. Harry Reid does nothing by accident. But another reading on this, Harry Reid's openness to this plan, because it's in stark contrast to what Nancy Pelosi said, and I think it would be in stark contrast to anything that President Obama or the White House would say. Harry Reid and the White House have not been getting along very well lately. And I couldn't help but wonder when I saw that statement if Harry Reid wasn't kind of slightly thumbing his nose at the White House, figuring that there will be some way down the road to upend Republicans if they choose this strategy. But it's certainly not a strategy. I don't see any way how this strategy is one that is good for Democrats or good for the White House.
Well, and I wondered too. I mean, Harry Reid almost lost his seat 4 years ago, and he's running again for re-election apparently in 2016. So is he trying to present a more moderate face to his Nevada voters?
We certainly haven't heard this tone in the past 2 years.
Another reason for Harry Reid to do this, which is that Harry Reid, and the Democrats, who are still in charge of the Senate until the end of the month, if there's a full budget, except for the Homeland Security Department, the Democrats get a bunch of victories there that won't get too much notice because of this immigration fight, but they're going to get some victories at the edges. If they don't get this done by the end of the year, Harry Reid loses some power.
And they'll get a lot of goodies in that bill, too.
Yeah, all right. I'm sure there are a lot of hidden ones as well.
Yes.
All right, David Hawkins, Charlie Hurt, thank you both.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.